Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing okay. So yeah, today we are going to read an unexplained Reddit story. This story will seriously make you question what's real and what's not. So relax, grab a snack, turn off the light, and maybe put the video on 1.25x for a better experience. Before we get into this video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. The channel goal is to reach 100 subscribers before the end of next month, and I'm sure that we can do it. Anyways, without wasting any more time, let's get into today's unexplained Reddit story. Don't get on the canceled train. When our company moved our office location, I was one of the few that objected. I had moved here specifically for this job, and the new spot would have me travel for about an hour every day. Unfortunately for me, I was overruled. The new location had better public transit connections, so it was advantageous for most employees. I wasn't used to public transit up until then. My apartment was so close to my job before that I'd simply walk every day. That's why when I took my first commute a week ago, I overlooked checking if there were any updates regarding transit for the day. I had already arrived at the station when I saw a sign that read "Cancellation due to strikes today." I laughed to myself as I took out my phone to call a cab. I still had much to learn, apparently. Then I heard a train come in. I was aware that even if trains are canceled, they're still used for other reasons, training new employees or simply relocating the train to a different station, for example. That's why I was confused when it stopped in front of me and I could see people inside. The digital billboard behind me still had the cancellation message on it when I turned around to make sure. Looking at the info on the train, however, it clearly said Line 4, Green Street. That was my connection. As the train doors opened and people got out, I grabbed my bag and got on immediately. I looked around for a free seat and sat down as soon as I found one. The hour-long commute began. The train was packed, unsurprisingly, 6:30 a.m. on one of the busiest subway lines in a big metropolis. That's why I wasn't surprised when the train got so crowded that I wouldn't be able to stand up without asking people to move out of the way. What did surprise me, however, was that past the first couple of stations, no one seemed to be getting on the train anymore. The train was full, of course. Getting on it when there was no space anymore was literally impossible. However, the stations we were stopping at were empty now as well. Nobody was waiting for this train anymore. In addition to that, people had not gotten off the train in pretty much the same amount of time. When I saw no one enter nor leave for 5 stations in a row, I got worried. I was starting to feel claustrophobic. I looked at my phone to check the time, hoping we would arrive soon. 45 minutes to go. I checked the rideshare app again to see how much a trip to work from the next station would cost me. $25? Sure, whatever. I'd pay that and be done with it. And starting tomorrow, I'd simply work from home unless there was something important going on at the office. I decided to listen to my fears and get off at the next station. Something about this situation was making me incredibly uncomfortable. That's when it started. I noticed the train had not stopped in a good 5 to 6 minutes now. It wasn't simply going past the stations without stopping. There hadn't been any stations. All I could see when I looked out the window was the dark and dusty tunnel. I decided to give it a bit more time until I'd officially freak out, but after I saw no change in scenery for the next 10 minutes or so, I just had to get up. I had to get up and get out of this train. "Excuse me?" I asked the person standing in front of me. "I'd like to get up. The next stop is mine," I continued. The person didn't react. They were facing to the right of me, seemingly not even registering that I had spoken. "Excuse me, I have to get up," I tried again. This time, I decided to tug on their jacket to make sure they noticed me. No reaction. I looked around and realized I hadn't heard anyone make a sound for a while now. I looked back up at the person, still seemingly ignoring me. I couldn't deal with it anymore. I had always been bad with tight spaces. I was the type of person to reflexively click away from cave diving videos so I wouldn't freak out. Now, I was definitely freaking out. I got up, my body now pressing against the people in front of me, but I had to power through. If they weren't going to react, better for me. I'd wrestle my way through towards the door and pull the emergency brake. I turned to the right, my face being squished by the others standing around me. As I tried to take the first step, I felt something on my back. Not people pressing against it, but hands, 4 or 5 of them, all different. Hands that grabbed me with enormous strength from the back. 2 tugged at my left arm, one of them grabbed my neck, and the others grabbed me by my jacket, trying to pull me back. I screamed and wrestled against the masses to turn around as fast as I could. The hands were gone. No one was holding me anymore. Everyone was looking away from me. I was breathing fast, trying to push people away from me as I screamed into the crowd, "What do you want from me?" No reaction. I was about to turn back around when again I felt hands grab me, this time from the exact opposite direction. I panicked. I wanted to get them off of me. I threw myself against them, thrashing and shouting to get them away. I ended up falling back into my seat as I looked back up. Everyone was still standing in the same spot in front of me, looking away, same as before. Against all my instincts, I closed my eyes. I needed to calm down. I steadied my breathing and sat there for a couple of minutes. First things first, I needed to get to the emergency brake. The other passengers seemed to grab me whenever I turned my back towards them. That gave me an idea, although I hated the thought of it. I slid down the chair until I sat on the ground and proceeded to push the others away as much as I could. Eventually, I managed to make enough space to lie down. I guarded my head with my hands and proceeded to extend my legs to push myself towards the train door little by little. I made sure not to lose sight of the others. I stared at them like my life depended on it. Thankfully, my idea seemed to be working. None of them were grabbing at me anymore. I continued like that until eventually I reached the train door. I sat up, then stood back up into a standing position, all while making sure my back was still pointing away from the passengers. I could see the emergency brake now, about a meter to my left. I struck my arm out towards it, but my arm wasn't quite long enough. I turned my torso so I could lean towards it when I felt the hands again, but it was good enough. I had managed to hook into the emergency brake with my index finger, and with all my might, hurling my entire body weight towards the hands grabbing me, I pulled the brake. The tunnel wasn't the only thing seemingly going on forever. The train started braking aggressively with a deafening sound, and pretty much everyone stumbled backwards from the sudden force. I managed to grab hold of the door handle. The feeling and screeching in my ears didn't stop. It continued on as if the braking distance was infinite, continuously applying the pushing force onto everyone on the train. At least it stopped the hands from holding me in place. They were still trying to grab at me, but were being continuously dragged away by the braking force. The pressure was overwhelming, and I could only see one way out of this. Somehow I'd have to get the train door to open. Even if I ended up having to jump out of the moving train, my chance of survival in here would be far worse. Thankfully, the train doors were separated by a layer of silicone covering the end of each of them to make sure no one would get hurt when accidentally caught in between. I used this chance to ram my hand in between. I pushed to get my hand through as far as possible when I felt something on the other side of the doors. Another hand, but it wasn't grabbing me this time. It was gently caressing my arm on the outside. A shiver ran down my spine and I almost pulled back instinctively. Almost. Whatever was out there, it didn't matter. I couldn't stay in here. I needed to get out. I decided to ignore it. I jammed my second hand in between the doors, and the caressing continued on my second hand. The force of the braking train felt like it was going to break both my arms in this position, but I had to go on. I started pulling the doors apart with all my might when I saw the reflections of the other passengers in the windows. I hadn't seen their expressions so far since they always turned away from me. They were all holding on, either to each other or to parts of the train, trying to withstand the braking force, but their actions didn't match the situation. Some had their phone out, others were seemingly holding a conversation, although I could still not make out a sound. They all looked like everything was completely normal, except for the fact that they were all staring at me, shaking their head in denial, as if to imply that what I was doing was wrong. None of their actions seemed coordinated except for their head movements, which they were all doing in unison. The doors started to come apart. I couldn't make out anything through the slit, but I continued. I had gotten them apart far enough for my knee to fit through the middle. It didn't seem like I'd managed to pry it apart any further, so I tried to pass through it as much as I could. I took one last look at the reflections in the people. Then I pushed my shoulder through. Part of my torso followed through. Then my head was outside. The screeching from the brakes was even louder outside, and I could see sparks flying. Once my torso was completely outside, I tried to push myself away from the door to get my remaining leg and arm out. I heard a loud crack, and I went flying against the tunnel wall. The screeching sound was gone almost immediately. I was dazed, lying on the floor, my vision becoming more and more red, but I was alive. I looked around and couldn't see the train anymore. I tried to get up, but I couldn't. Unsurprisingly, jumping out of a moving train had hurt me quite a lot. I started crawling. After a while, I could make out flashlights in the distance. Apparently, the city decided to make use of the strikes to do some necessary construction in the tunnel. None of them saw a train come through when I asked. I'm lying in the hospital right now. The doctor says I'll get out tomorrow. I still catch myself looking into reflections in the windows when I see someone looking away from me, but I haven't seen anything odd since then. I'm not writing this for anyone to feel sorry for me. Frankly, I couldn't care less. I just need to tell people, even if your canceled train does end up coming, please do not get on it. And that's the end of this story. Imagine getting on something that was never meant to arrive and realizing too late that you were never supposed to be there in the first place. If you enjoyed this unexplained story, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're getting closer to our goal, and I really appreciate every single one of you. Comment down below, would you have pulled the emergency brake or would you have stayed on the train? And if you want more, click on the video that comes on your screen.